Hey everybody, how you doing? Will Martin here. So this is a little bit off topic, but this channel I think is going to be off topic pretty constantly. So this past spring, I decided to volunteer, and not at the local food bank or the homeless shelter, and not at the local free clinic like many of my colleagues do in the emergency department. Those are all definitely legit great ways to volunteer your time, but I decided to kind of turn back the clock and volunteer with my local fire department. Yes, back in 1981, I joined the fire department and I stayed with it until 2004 when I had young kids and I was really busy in my clinical work and teaching, working literally four jobs. And at that time I had been the first group of paramedics in my area back in 1984, and I kept my paramedic card until 2016 when I thought for sure I'd never be in the back of an ambulance again. In fact, the last time that I actually rode in the back of an ambulance call was in 2004. But anyone who has ever been involved in EMS or the fire department knows that it gets in your blood and you never really let it go. So, like most volunteer fire departments in the country, mine has been struggling for the last several years, struggling with recruiting and retaining members, struggling with constant new training mandates and other regulations that really make being a volunteer firefighter almost a second full-time job. And in addition to that, I wanted to become involved in the EMS end of things. And back when I was really active, throughout the 1980s and the 1990s, I was a paid full-time paramedic in Syracuse, New York. And I was heavily involved in EMS through the fire department also. And I was heavily involved with the fire department, the volunteer fire department. It was a big part of my life. I was involved in the inception of the first paramedic flight program run with the local sheriff's department. I had served every line from lieutenant through captain through first deputy fire chief. I didn't hang in there long enough to be the chief of the department, and actually never really wanted to be the chief anyway. But I left when my son was 3 and my daughter was on the way. And a little over 6 months ago, I had come across and met the current fire chief. We talked, and I decided that I would come back. So just to make a long story short, I mean, a lot has changed. A lot has also stayed the same. I mean, fire apparatus and equipment is essentially the way it was 20 years ago, but there's been some pretty significant changes, as any of you who are currently involved would probably attest to. In some ways, I feel like Rip Van Winkle, like I've been asleep for 20 years, and all the people that I knew in that fire department are gone, and there's new people living in my old house. So it's kind of strange. It has been exciting and strange all at the same time. What I quickly learned is that as a nurse practitioner who has worked in emergency medicine and our trauma center for decades, I still hold no position out in the field. I'm currently not an EMT, much less a paramedic, and all of my skill and training doesn't really count for much in our current EMS system. And of course, I mean, I want to help people, so I've decided to go back and refresh my paramedic certification. It's been 10 years since I last took a paramedic exam, and the pressure is definitely on to try to pass it. If I do, then I can obviously actively contribute to the care of those that call for help. So on January 6th of 2024, I'll be taking a paramedic challenge exam. My last set of exams were New York State basic EMT and paramedic practical exams and written tests. I'm hearing that all of that has changed and that I'm looking now at taking a national registry exam that I guess covers basic and advanced skills combined. For any of you out there that have recently taken the national registry exam for paramedic, please comment below and tell me what your experience was and what you'd recommend I do to prepare for the challenge exam. I'm kind of still learning my place in the fire department in terms of how involved I should be in, for example, interior firefighting. It's been 20 years since I have been wearing SCBA. I'm fairly fit. I mean, I work out in a strength and conditioning gym 6 days a week, and I've done that for the past 7 years. And I can probably handle most of the job, but I'm 61 years old, and even though if in my head I'm 39, I have to be realistic about things, So I'm going to use this channel to update any of you who may be interested in EMS or firefighting work, and I appreciate any tips or thoughts you current EMS and firefighters have for me. For now, I'm going to be watching some YouTube videos on the paramedic exam, and I think I'm going to buy maybe a Kaplan review book on the paramedic test and see if that helps me out a little bit. The worst thing I could do is assume that I know enough to pass the test. As an ED provider, I don't look at things the same way as through the eyes of an EMS person, and the two perspectives are definitely very different. So here we go. So until next time, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.